Long before Keanu Reeves and CD Projekt Red had the opportunity to ruin the term Cyberpunk online, along came Billy Idol in 1993 with his full-length studio album called Cyberpunk. And this album is one of the worst records I have ever heard. Easily, bar none. Okay, this thing is bloated. This thing is filled with so many songs that do not need to be there and don't belong with one another. This thing has 20 tracks, okay, 5 interludes, an intro, an outro, and none of these songs work together, and that is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just here to tell you that the term cyberpunk has been prevalent online in the zeitgeist for the last 3 years or so, but it's been decades since it's been cool, okay? So today, CD Projekt Red, you can sit over here for a little bit. You know what I'm talking about? Keanu Reeves, I don't need ya. Today is all about Billy Idol, and it is gonna be a fun one. Hey, how's it going? Come on in. I hope you're kicking back. This channel, this video is all about kicking back. And believe me, it is best enjoyed whilst kicking back. If you want to like, comment, and subscribe, that would be pretty sick. Leave a couple stacks of pancakes down there in the comment section. That would also be pretty rad, you know what I'm talking about. Or you could join the secret society by pressing that join button down there, and I would really appreciate that as well. You get exclusive videos, you'll get some emoticons, alright? You'll get some badges, and all sorts of lovely things, alright? It's mostly where all my failed videos go. I just tuck them behind the paywall, and then that's fake value, but you know what I mean. That's something that you can enjoy if you join the channel today for the low cost of, I forget, just click it and find out. Just see how much this costs down there, the join button. Okay, this isn't about the join button. This isn't about any of that. This is about Billy Idol. This is about Cyberpunk. Okay, now Cyberpunk kind of goes back to 1984. William Gibson has this great idea for some science fiction, okay? The science fiction book is going to be called Neuromancer, and it is going to sweep the nation. It is going to paint this digital dystopian future, okay? Kind of 1984-esque, but on steroids. And this Neuromancer stuff would go on to inform most of William Gibson's career going forward because of how red hot this was. But it was a whole new brave new world in the science fiction writing or whatever, and a lot of people were latching onto it. So much so that it even moved to the big screen, okay? In the 80s and early 90s, the cyberpunk stuff was running wild, okay? 3 of the biggest budget action films that I can think of from that era, you know what I mean? They were cyberpunk films. I'm talking about some Total Recall right now. You know, Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger, move over Keanu Reeves, all right? You got Arnold Schwarzenegger being the most cyberpunk guy ever, all right? Now, this was a little bit before The Matrix's time, and to be honest, The Matrix is a little bit outside of this influence or whatever, but then also, we're talking about Blade Runner, probably the most cyberpunk movie to ever exist. Blade Runner, are you kidding? It's Blade Runner. But then, one of the biggest, one of the best, we're going to be talking about RoboCop. Now, most people forget to put RoboCop in the cyberpunk genre, but what else would it be? You know what I mean? It's a totally digital dystopian whatever. You got this cybernetic dead robot cop just causing chaos all over the place, you know what I mean? Just being a total wreck to society. And you're starting to see, man, cyberpunk is kind of cool. Yeah, people are starting to see that, like, computers exist. People are like, oh man, calculators are going to get so crazy in a couple years. You know what I mean? People can imagine flying cars. People don't even know what the future is going to be, but they can just imagine cameras everywhere. They can't even comprehend what the internet would even be at this time. But thank God we had Billy Idol to come during peak grunge era in 1993 to hit us with all these synths, really fitting in on the top of the charts over here with all these synthesizers, Billy. All right, if you want it to be cool or relevant in the zeitgeist, Maybe you would have done something alternative rock. Maybe you would have done something grungy a little bit. But no. You kept with the synths. You kept with the digital love from the 80s that you should have been moving on from. Jesus Christ, Billy Idol. You were trying to evolve yourself as an artist, but you just put yourself back, all right? You did White Wedding. You did Rebel Yell. And then you're like, what's going to be forward thinking? Oh, I know. The Neuromancer. I'm going to do something that happened before my career even started. What are you on about? This is the most ill-informed decision any artist has ever made, especially one signed to Capitol Records. How did Capitol Records sign off on this? Yeah, everyone's just like so wide-eyed, being like, oh yeah, internet, computers, keyboards and mouses everywhere. They're gonna be the next big thing, and Cyberpunk is the next big thing, and Billy Idol is gonna be the face of it all. Could that possibly have been their stupid-ass thought process? It couldn't have been, right? It just couldn't have been. But who knows? It was all happening out there. You had the early internet users, you had these early hacker groups, and then Billy Idol's coming along being like, I'll take a piece of that, I'll take a piece of that, I'll do a little of this, a little of that, and nothing that he was doing was appealing to any of these groups. The early internet users were like grunge era rock and roll people, you know what I mean? They wanted that type of stuff. So he was out of touch there, all right? These hacker groups couldn't have cared less about art or music. Are you kidding me? These guys were in their basements working on computers the entire time. So they couldn't have cared less about what Billy Idol was doing at this time. AOL chat boards, same thing. Internet users, whatever. And then all of the sci-fi that came before it, just pissing all over it. You know what I mean? There was lore, there was legacy, and he didn't care about any of it. He just came in and tried to use its image to try to craft this whole brand for himself. He even included, get this, a floppy disk with his record, all right? He knew computers were the future, and he knew that enhanced CDs would eventually be a thing. You could put a CD in, maybe like interact with it a little bit. There'd be like a website, blah, 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 blah. But nah. That is not what Billy Idol did. No. He basically put his liner notes, okay? A biography, all right? Lyrics, okay? Credits, all right? There's nothing going on this, like, floppy disk. He just included it, which would have cost Capitol Records so much money to make, and then this record goes on to flop. Isn't that ironic that you printed all these floppy disks for this record to completely flop? Capitol Records, Billy Idol, Cyberpunk. So it turns out I've been talking about all of this for so long that I forgot to actually review this record. So for that, I'm gonna throw it over to my good buddy at Crash and Burn. Hey Adam Crash, do you wanna take it from here?
Thank you, Dan. And hey everybody to my fucking discussion. This is the second take for this piece of shit on Billy Idol's 1993 album, Cyberpunk. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, this is the record that apparently almost derailed his career. That doesn't make much sense to me because the record he put out before it was called Charmed Life or some shit. It was garbage. So if this record almost derailed his career, that record almost derailed his career, and I don't buy any of it. This record sucks, okay? I mean, the best part of this, it came with a floppy disk that totally mimicked like an early Mortal Kombat sort of Ed Boon inspired thing that came with the lyrics on it, and there was a breakdown of the story or some shit, or the album credits, like who played what. Who cares who played what? This entire record sounds like it was made on like an old 90s like music making program, like a New Beat Transmission or some shit. The drums suck. I don't care about the message. It has to do with the world of cyberpunk, but he doesn't get it. This record's too religious. The songs are way too long. I mean, you've got Adam in Chains. It's about some kind of bullshit hypnotizing thing where he's now we're going to count backwards from 10. I don't know if anybody remembers who Enigma was, but they were pretty big at this point in the 90s. Well, sort of. And that song sounds like the weakest parts of anything Enigma ever did. Like if Enigma / Enya had no talent, they would sound like Adam in Chains. And not to mention the fact that Adam in Chains is 6 minutes and 24 seconds. Power Junkie, the chorus, I'm a bad man. Like, no you're not. I don't get this. It sounds like it belongs like in like a fight scene in a bad cop drama. Like an old episode of Walker, Texas Ranger, some shit with Chuck Norris. I mean, Mother Dawn clocks in at 5:03, and it does this like bullshit this gospel thing. This record is way too religious. Now, I do understand that as far as the cyberpunk influence is concerned, that cyberpunk and religion have always been tied up. It's been that way pretty much since the dawn of cyberpunk back in the new wave science fiction movement of the 60s and 70s, thanks to people, of course, like Philip K. Dick. But then there's this Canadian kid named William Gibson who came along in the 80s, and he wrote Neuromancer. It was part of the Cyberpunk Sprawl trilogy. That book gave birth to this scene. Well, that and Blade Runner gave birth to the modern thing of cyberpunk. This record is trash. Shangri-La is 7 minutes and 25 seconds long. 7 minutes and 25 seconds long. I can't do it. Like, I can't do this. The synths suck. They feel like it's like a poor man's Wendy Carlos. There's no tempo consistency. This record is all over the place. It reminds me so much of those old like new age sampler CDs they used to sell at drugstores. Like at Shoppers here in Canada, you press like whatever and you'd hear the sounds of the ocean, and then you go to track 2 and you hear something. That's this record. This record is trash. And that's it. So thank you guys for hanging out with me while I attempted to, I don't care, this record's garbage. Back to you in the studio, Dan.
Excellent review, Adam Crash, but you know what? I don't want to rob my audience of the star ratings, okay? So if you want the star ratings, audience, please go over to Adam's channel, go over to Crash and Burn, where I'm gonna give you all of my star ratings for the worst record I have ever heard. It does have the worst song I've ever reviewed on it, all right? I broke my scale during the listening of this record, and to see what song broke that scale, head on over to Crash and Burn right now and cue up that video. Thanks again so much to Adam Crash for listening to this awful record with me and doing this collaboration alongside me. This is the first time I've ever done something like this, and honestly, I had so much fun doing it. I'm gonna get out of here right now, but you gotta promise me you're leaving this video to go right over there to that video right now. It's gonna be linked down below, and I'll leave it here somewhere as well if I can. Okay, see you later.